Hi everyone, today is Monday, May 18th, 2020, and this is Skein 13 of the All Wound Up podcast. It's been 9 months since I last recorded. That means that in the time that it's been, Rhinebeck has happened, Vogue Knitting Live has happened, the holidays have happened, and quarantine has happened. So, if you guys remember, I'm located in the Bronx in New York. My zip code is one of the hardest hit in the country, so I've really been staying in. Yesterday was the first time I even left my apartment in 2 weeks, and it was just to go to the pharmacy to pick up a prescription. So I'm really staying very close to home, and things are kind of crazy, so I figured why not record a podcast, because what else are we all doing? As you may know, I'm a New York City school teacher, so that means that I'm working from home and teaching from home, which means I'm recording a lot of videos, even though most of them have nothing to do with yarn. They have a lot to do with English language arts, a lot to do with writing essays, and a lot to do with research skills, but very little to do with yarn. And even though I wanted to try and carve out more time for me this school year, I haven't really been doing as much knitting as I had hoped and planned to, because things are crazy right now. That being said, I do have some finished objects to share since the last time we saw each other. And actually, I have a couple of major finished objects to share. So one of them is my Find Your Fade. I finally finished the Find Your Fade, and I finished this in September or October, and wore it to a Rhinebeck kickoff event where I got to see Shanna from Lambstrings, who dyed the yarn. So this is the Find Your Fade, and it's all done in Lambstrings Tralala sock. So this is Venery, Yellow Moss, Corazon, Monarch, Siafu, Sexy Librarian, and Rosario. So anybody who's knit this shawl knows it is large. I have a couple of stitches that are dropped stitches that I haven't taken the time to tack down, so it does have some stitch markers and pins hanging off it, but I'm counting it as a finished object because I counted it as a finished object 8 months ago, and that means it's definitely done now. I've worn it twice. It's a lot to wear, and it's definitely one of those shawls that you have to follow the Stephen West tutorial and just put the shawl on and hope for the best, because if you try to arrange it too meticulously from jump, it doesn't necessarily work, but it is a lot of fun to wear, and I like seeing how the colors mix when I drape it and how they play with each other, so it is quite fun to wear and wrap. But it's definitely a cold weather piece. I don't tend to go around in the spring and summer with this on, but there it is. Definitely benefits from a shawl pin, but I love it. And I'm really happy that I didn't rip it out and switch my color order, which I'd been planning on doing for a minute there. And it's comfortable, and it's very springy. The texture, not the temperature, and I just really enjoy it. I considered hanging it on the wall for a while and then changed my mind, but it's definitely a piece that's in my rotation, and I feel like depending on how you wrap it, it has different colors for different seasons, so it could be appropriate in summer in a cool place with air conditioning if I had this pink part on the outside, or then in spring with the leafy green from Yellow Moss on the outside. So it's definitely something that is going to be in my wrap wearing wheelhouse whenever I want a larger wrap. So it will be worn a lot. Okay, adjusted. The next thing that I finished since the last time we talked, and these are actually the only two things that I finished since the last time we talked, I ripped out a whole bunch of smaller shawls of one skein shawlettes that I just wasn't feeling anymore. And I ripped out a few rows of a sweater where I made a mistake on the lace and I just didn't want to finish it. So I'm going to restart that project. and hopefully, it'll be better. But, yeah, I actually did a lot of frogging in the long break in between, but I do have a whip, and I do have another FO. So my second finished object is another massive faded shawl, and this one is Fading Point by Joji Locatelli, and this is the right side. I knit this out of a Trey Liz Color is Power pre-made fade kit, and it's about 10 feet long. There's a picture on my Instagram if you go and take a look, and it is, hang on, this way. It is amazing to wear. The rectangular shape I find is a lot easier to wrap than the Find Your Fade, because there's not any weird angles. It's very predictable, and so I definitely have worn this one a couple more times than the Find Your Fade, and I quite like it. I love the Grello thing that I have going on. So this is done in Zeus by Trey Liz Color is Power, and it is a 5-color fade. So it is Sirius Black into Rubeus Hagrid into Severus Snape into Remus Lupin into Albus Dumbledore. And I love this construction of shawl. I knit the Starting Point, also by Joji Locatelli, and there's a third shawl that she designed with this construction, and I wanted to see if I could stash dive to knit that, but I can't remember what the shawl is called. I absolutely love it, and I'm eventually going to cast it on when I've got my major knitting mojo back, and I feel like creating things with my hands. Those are my only 2 whips. Like I said, I ripped out a bunch, and I went through and I reorganized my whips, and I have a lot of empty project bags, a lot of full skeins of yarn that are caked that I don't usually do, and I decided I needed to get rid of things that I wasn't planning on finishing, and it was like a weight off my shoulders that I didn't have these things that I wasn't ever going to finish knitting sitting there staring at me, and it's a relief. So that felt good. My works in progress that I do have right now, there are 2 of them. One of them is actually a crochet work in progress, and I only crochet once in a blue moon, but a coworker just had a baby, and this is going to be that little baby's baby blanket. So it's actually pretty close to done. So this is just a granny square blanket, and I'm using Berocco Vintage because it's washable and dryable. It's a super wash merino. It should be good in the dryer. I've heard of people washing and drying it before, and it's really soft. So this is her blanket for her new son, who is adorable, and I've seen a picture of him. But that should be done relatively soon if, again, my crafting mojo isn't out the window. We'll see. Hopefully I'll have another podcast for you guys before, that baby is 1 year old, and I can show you the finished blanket before I send it out, because I honestly don't even know if the post office is open where I am. The last time I drove past one, it was closed with a gate, and I was like, okay. So we'll see. We don't get mail every day here right now. That's how bad it is here. So it's a little bit scary, but we don't get mail every day. Amazon packages seem to be coming through because they have independent couriers, but the mail comes maybe every 3 days. Yeah, so I don't know if I'll be mailing that out or driving past and dropping it off on her lawn. We'll see. But that's my crochet whip. And then I do have a nearly finished knitting whip. So hopefully the fact that I podcasted now will be enough to motivate me to finish this whip and record another podcast, because, then I'll have something to share with you. I keep playing with my hair because a couple of weeks ago I decided that 18 months was too long to go between haircuts, and I cut off 6 to 8 inches of my hair just in my bathroom with my kitchen scissors because it was time. And mostly it's okay, but there are some pieces that are shaped a little bit funny compared to how my wonderful hairdresser would have cut it. But I don't know when I'm going to next be able to go to my wonderful hairdresser, so I'm going with it the way it is right now. And hopefully when I do see her, it's grown out enough that she can repair my uneven pieces and things like this that are short, stubby little frizzy bits that I cut too short. So my next whip is a cardigan, and this is the Homebase pattern by von Hinterm Stein, and it is mostly stockinette, as you might be able to tell, but it has some cool details on the back at the middle. It has a broken rib, and it has, the very first time I've ever done this, pockets. So basically, to knit the pockets, you put yarn on waste yarn and then did a crochet cast on. It was very complicated until I was in the middle of doing it, and then all of a sudden it all made sense. So when I block it, I will have to secure the sides of the pockets, but the bottoms are already stitched together because you do that as you're knitting so that you don't have to seam them. It's supposed to help them lay flatter. But I'm really loving the minor details on this, but not only does it have pockets, I hate picking up stitches to make button bands, and this pattern, if you also hate picking up stitches to make button bands, the button band is knit as you make the sweater. So I have no stitches to pick up around the front and top in order to have my button band ready. But there it is, a button band, and it's just about ready to go until you notice that it has only one sleeve. So I'm on Sleeve Island, and I have about 20 more rows, allegedly, to knit on this sleeve. We'll see. I'm almost done with the decreases, and then there's a single-digit number of rows before the ribbing, so we'll see. I might cut it off a little bit sooner, but I'm not sure, because I don't want it to be too short. I'd rather the sleeves be too long than too short. But this has been my main whip. It has cool little textural details on the shoulders. You can kind of see them. They're not getting too blown out. And I'm loving that the button band is built in, because the last cardigan that I made, the Madewell by Joji, I hated picking up those button band stitches. It was obnoxious. I would definitely do it again, but to be able to have that already done was great. You knit the buttonholes as you're knitting, place pins on the opposite side so that you can find where you're supposed to sew on your buttons, and it was really just a lot of fun to knit the body of this sweater, and I can't wait to finish the sleeves so that I can wear it. I don't know where I'm going to wear it because I'm at home and I only have air conditioning in one room in my house, so it's not like I have to escape the air conditioning chill in the summer, but we'll see. Hopefully we'll be going back to school in the fall and I'll be able to wear it to work at that point. Yeah. The yarn for this is a base that I don't see that often. It is from Groovy Hues Fibers, but it's a custom ordered base that had a custom dye job done. So it is Groovy Hues Tweedy and Groovin DK, and that means that it has those little tweedy bits that you would see on a sock tweed, but in DK, and it's very soft, and it is a joy to knit with. I'm loving the stitch definition that I'm getting. Suzanne, when she dyed it, was worried that she was going to get a lot of color bleed, that the tweed would be blue, but it's definitely mostly gray, black, and taupe, so she did a really good job, and I absolutely love this. She custom dyed navy for me. It's not a solid or tonal that she usually carries, but because I wanted a sweater quantity, she was like, sure, no problem. I love it. and I can't wait until I can wear it. So a sleeve and a little bit, and then I'll be able to wear it. But I'm definitely sitting on Sleeve Island. I don't understand why so many people hate sleeves. People complain about turning the whole sweater. I find that I twist the sleeve and then untwist it, and twist the sleeve and then untwist it, so that I'm not dealing with turning the whole sweater, because I don't have time for that. Not interested in dealing with it. I'm not going to show you 9 full months of acquisitions. I figured I would put some aside and just save them for the next podcast, so that if I don't buy yarn, I have something to show you under acquisitions. But I am going to show you some, and I am going to show you my Rhinebeck haul. Now, my best, favorite, most beloved Rhinebeck purchase is not yarn, and it's not jewelry. I've done that before, where I've bought an expensive piece of jewelry at Rhinebeck. My most epic piece of Rhinebeck haulage is this. Okay. There's a local yarn store in Rhinebeck called, I have it written down, the Knitting Garage. And the owner of the Knitting Garage is a really, really sweet woman who has a beautiful booth in one of the barns at Rhinebeck. And I hope that things are sufficiently recovered that we're able to go up there and enjoy the festival this fall. But she has a beautiful booth, and she has an amazingly talented and creative mother. And her amazingly talented and creative mother hand makes these llama plushes. And each one is unique, and each one is slightly different. I named my llama Hyacinth because I felt like she needed a fancy name to go with her fancy self. She's got stuff stuck in her fur. Sorry. And I am obsessed with Hyacinth. Hyacinth doesn't live in the yarn room right now. She's in my living room, sitting on top of my wine rack, because she needs to be seen by the world. But there's so much detail in this. She hand makes the body. She hand stitches the faces. And all of these little pom-pom and beaded details are unique to each llama. Each one is different. So they each have different fabrics in their ears. They each have a different saddle. They each have a different little butt. But they're all unique, and they each have a charm. And that says made with love. And I absolutely am obsessed with my llama Hyacinth. She's one of my absolute favorite things in the world right now. So Hyacinth was my biggest and bestest Rhinebeck purchase. I also purchased a lot of books this year. Not necessarily knitting books, but books for my classroom at the book sale. So that was cool. And they did a really cool thing this year that I hope they continue to do, where they check your books. And they give you like a coat check ticket, so that at the end of your day you can go back and pick up your book purchases. Because 2 years in a row now, the very first place that I went was the book tent, and I was like, this is a mistake. So it was good to not have to carry around books this year. And definitely a great idea on their behalf, because nobody wants to carry around their books unless they're, making time to go and sit on one of the lawns and read. So it was perfect. I went and picked it up at the end of the day. It was seamless. There was no line to pick up the books after you'd purchased them. So that was amazing. And that was my other really big purchase. I only bought 3 types of yarn. That's not to say that I didn't, engage in yarn piggery, as the grocery girls would say. There was definitely yarn piggery, but it was not as crazy as it's been in previous years. So my first purchase of yarn from Rhinebeck was from the Bead Biz booth, and I purchased yarn to make my very first pie shawl, which will be Peace, Love, and Knitting by Anna Dalby. And the yarn that I have to do this, well, actually, first, I should say, Peace, Love, and Knitting was designed to honor the 50th anniversary of Woodstock. And you need about 1,400 light fingering weight yards for this shawl. And you need about 3,300 beads for the body of the shawl. That's right, 3,300 beads. Thank God I have a Flegel beater. When and if I do finally start this project, there will probably be a lot of tears, a lot of cursing, and I'm going to have safety lines for my safety lines because I've never really knit a beaded project. I've tried a little bit on an edging, but it's going to be a lot. So the yarn that I got for this, and it was all in a nice little kit, was from White Birch Fiber Arts, and it is a gradient, a single skein gradient of 1,500 yards. And the color doesn't have a name, but it is 50% baby camel and 50% silk. And the color is just absolutely, there it is, absolutely gorgeous. And I had to have it. When I walked past the booth, I would not normally go for a beaded shawl as a project that I would buy because I've never really beaded, but I had to have this skein, and it was in this kit, and I was like, you know what? I might as well try. So these are my beads. I believe these are the body beads. I could be wrong. I believe, so these are the body beads. They're a sort of light peachy color with gold inside. They're crystal. And then the other beads are, these are for the edges. They're sort of teardrop shaped, and they are a pale yellow crystal. So I think that that's going to look really nice with the, flip it, with the yarn. And hopefully I someday work up the nerve to knit this, because when and if I finish it, I know that it'll be a piece that I'll cherish forever. I don't know that I'll wear it. It'll probably get, folded and framed, but it's definitely going to be an heirloom sort of piece. And I am very much in love with this color still. So that was my first yarn purchase. The next yarn that I purchased at Rhinebeck was from Loop Fiber Studio, and I've known them for their loop bumps that they sell of fiber, but I never really looked at them as a yarn vendor before, and I have to say I was kind of impressed with what they have. So I love the look of a marled pattern, but I hate holding two strands together, and they have a new line, well, it was new in October, called Yin Yang, and I purchased 4 skeins of the worsted weight Yin Yang in the yin color. And what that is it reminds me kind of bakery string, but super soft because it's made out of merino. And it's a black and natural cream color, marled together, and you hold it single and you knit with it, and you get the look of a marled pattern without all the craziness of holding 2 strands of yarn together. I'm hoping that this will encourage me to, no, I'm not hoping it will encourage me to anything. I'm just hoping that I enjoy the knit with this as much as I would enjoy having a true finished marled pattern. So this is going to become some sort of knitted t-shirt. I may have picked out a pattern, but we're not sure. We being me and me. I think it'll be a lot of fun to wear, and I love the way it looks knit up. They had a sample, so I am very excited to knit with that. Then the final yarn purchase that I made was from Cece's Wool, and Cece's Wool is beautiful yarn dyed in the colors of upstate New York. And I've never called upstate New York a permanent home. I went to school in upstate New York. I went to Ithaca College. and I visited my aunts up in upstate New York quite a bit as a child, but I never called it a permanent home. However, this color that I purchased is from CC. It's called Honeybee, and it's sort of a golden, yellowy, orange ochre color. And each skein of this is 1,120 yards, and this is called a yarn baby because it's so hefty. And of course, if you're going to purchase a yarn baby, you can't just purchase one. It'll get lonely. So I bought 2 yarn babies, which means that I have 2,240 yards of this yarn, and I may pick out something really fancy to make with cables. I think it's subtle enough tonal variations that I could do that. Or it'll just be some sort of simple long sweater coat. Or it'll be another one of those cool pie shawls if I find out that I like it when I knit this first one. So that's an option. But I walked past this booth and I was like, I have to have one of those giant things of yarn. And then I found this color and I was like, this is perfect. I, like an ochre color. So hopefully I'm able, actually it matches my pants that don't match my shirt very much right now. But I'm trying to figure out what this will be. I haven't decided. It is 100% superwash merino, and there's a lot of it. So I'll figure it out eventually. Or it'll just, be a part of my yarn collection. And that's a totally separate hobby, and that's okay. My coworkers tried to argue with me today that collecting yarn and knitting are not separate hobbies. They're wrong. They definitely are, because I don't just buy yarn for projects. I buy yarn to, stack up in my cubbies, and that's different than buying yarn to knit with. So that was my other Rhinebeck purchase. So I really only purchased 3 types of yarn at the festival. Oh, also, if anybody is thinking that I'm going out and getting my nails done, you can see how much growth I have. I got these done the day before we got notice that New York City schools were going to be closed for a while, and I had been planning to try and keep myself normal by getting my nails done for my kids, my students, and then I ended up staying at home with UV gel nails that I can't figure out how to get off. Apparently this type of nail you don't soak off, so I'm at a loss. You have to put a Metro card under them to lift them, and a Metro card won't fit under them. So if anybody has any tips about getting UV gel nails, not not gel polish, UV gel nails off, send them my way. Okay, so the other yarn that I bought, again, this is not everything that I've purchased in the last 9 months, but it's what I've decided to share with you all today, and I have more for next time. Don't worry. Would never run out of acquisitions. The next yarn that I decided to purchase was actually the Barnyard Knits Vogue Knitting Live colorway for the year. I decided not to go to Vogue Knitting Live. I went last year for the first time, and I found that the ballroom in the Marriott where it's held triggered a migraine for me because of the weird dome lights, and I decided that because I didn't really need to buy any yarn and I wasn't looking for anything specific, I would just stay home, save money, and not get a really bad migraine. It was the right choice for my health, but I saw this colorway from Barnyard Knits. It's called New York City, and I knew I needed to have it. So I ordered this from the Barnyard Knits website, and it is a mixture of greens and grays and tans. It's hard to see. It's definitely not picking up exactly right. There it is. And it has a few red speckles in it. It really does remind me of where I live right now. If I go outside, I could see any and all of these colors, and at first glance, it just looks kind of blah. But when you look more closely, there's these little speckles of like happy red in there. and it just makes me happy. So I decided that I needed to purchase that, and I'm probably going to make myself a wrap, like a poncho situation out of it. I might go with the I Want That wrap pattern that I've made before as gifts, but I'll make one for myself out of this, potentially, and wear it. I do have other yarn, this, that I had planned to make myself one of those wraps out of, but I'm not sure right now which one it'll be. So we'll see. Okay. The next yarn that I have is a gift, actually, or it was a gift. Suzanne from Groovy Hues, her husband is archaeology knits. He designs really cool enamel pins. There might be some of them back there. If not, I'll share some next time. And he went on a business trip to San Diego, and he brought me back a skein of yarn, because that's what friends do. And this is dyed by Mountain Colors. Mountain Colors is located in Montana. This colorway is called Sunset Cliffs, and it is a wool and silk blend. So it is 75% merino, 25% silk. And this will definitely be a shawlette of some type. I haven't decided what, but it'll be something that I'll wrap around and show up near my face, because everybody tells me I need to wear more bright colors. So this way I can continue wearing black and gray, and I can throw on a shawlette and be like, I'm wearing bright colors and I'm wearing them close to my face. I'm a grown woman. Stop telling me how to dress. Grr. But I can still wear my black and gray and have bright colors up near my face. And it has a really nice sheen to it, and I love the way that the colors are blending. So it'll definitely be something that I'll enjoy wearing once I knit it. Okay. My other two acquisitions are Groovy Hues Fibers yarns. One of them is a custom dyed colorway, and one of them is a colorway that was custom dyed, but not for me. So Suzanne and I have a friend named Krista, who is one of Suzanne's customers, and Krista has a daughter who is in 3rd grade, and she is an absolute pip. She's a total character, and she's absolutely hysterical. And she said that Suzanne, Miss Susie, needed to dye some crazy rainbow bright splashy yarn with sparkles in it. And so when your favorite 9-year-old says that, you apparently dye awesome crazy rainbow yarn. So this is the yarn that Suzanne dyed for our friend Krista's daughter, and it's called My Pet Unicorn Broke into Taco Bell and Made Herself Some Burritos. It's on the Glittery and Groovin base, which is 75% merino, 20% nylon, and 5% stellina. And it's really bright colors, with a lot of the cream showing through, which I like. It makes it a little bit less crazy to wear. But I haven't decided if this will be something for me or if I will knit a gift out of this skein, because it's amazing. I just don't know if I see myself wearing it. I love it, but we'll see. So there's that. Then there was a 100 Years Shawl Along that I heard about on Ravelry. Not on Ravelry, on Facebook. And the 100 Year Shawl Along was meant to commemorate the 100th anniversary of women gaining the right to vote. Then it was pointed out to me that not all women gained the right to vote in 2020 or 1920. And I decided that I wasn't going to take part in the shawl along anymore because it's not inclusive. So what I'm going to do is I'm still going to knit a shawl out of the yarn that I'm about to show you, but I'm going to wait until after the November 2020 elections, because I don't want to knit something that would be exclusive of some people, a lot of people actually, in the world. So I have decided to hold off. However, This is a holly berry colored yarn. It's on Cuddly and Groovin DK. And it is, I have 4 skeins of it. It will eventually be the Dawn shawl, that I've seen many times on my Instagram feed from other people knitting it. And it'll be something that I'll love to wear. I'm just not going to participate in the red shawl long. I'll do it later. So there's that. Yeah. So those were all the acquisitions that I took out to share with you all. And those were all my finished objects. I hope to be able to motivate myself to podcast sooner. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy sharing with all of you. I just don't enjoy setting up to do it. That's the only part. And I don't understand why that's such a big deal. I slide my desk chair out, put my laptop on it, and set up 2 lights. So I don't know why that seems like such a task until I do it. And then I'm like, this was silly. Why have I been putting this off for 9 months? So we'll see. Hopefully I will, decide to podcast sooner next time. And hopefully, having podcasted now and said that I want to podcast sooner, I will also be motivated to finish my sweater so that I can show that off the next time I podcast, because a sleeve and a little bit, I can do that. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for returning if you're a returning viewer, and thank you for joining me for the very first time if it's your first time here. Please don't forget to click the like and subscribe button down below if you liked what you saw here and if you'd like to see more. Oh, also, I forgot to do my social media. You can find me on Instagram as LAURAE.ROMERO. That'll be right down there. And on Ravelry as Mystrel, also right down there. So if you wanted to follow me in those 2 places, you're absolutely welcome to do so. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day.